Hi everyone, this is, well, of course, me, Paul, and my buddy Renee. We are out today on a beautiful Saturday morning, and we are going to be brewing some beer. Everybody tells me they'll stop me on the street, whether I'm in Toronto, Montreal, or even New York, and they ask me, Paul, how do you make such good beer? So I thought today I would video the process. So Renee, please describe what you're about to do.
Well, I'm just going to put water in this container and then to put it in the other container to have it boiled. And it's 37 quarts, so let's start.
Okay, and I noticed that you're using a filter. Why are you using that filter?
Well, you know, because of the chlorine and all the other products that are in the water, so we make sure that we have the best beer with the best water quality as possible.
I can't wait to try it. You have 25 pounds of grain. So we're going to use 37 quarts of water. And we need to heat the water up to 160 to 163 degrees to get the right mash temperature. I'm using induction as opposed to propane, because propane indoors would not be a very good idea. So we're using induction cooking, or induction heat. Set at 3,500 watts. We're going to wait for our temperature to go up to 162-ish degrees. So we are continuing with our malt. We have all of our base malt. Now Renee is adding some Cara Munich malt. It's going to give it a slight raisiny taste, and we just need 1 pound. Now I have a 25-pound recipe.
Almost a pound.
Almost a pound. I think that's acceptable. So that 1 pound is going to go into our pail.
There you go.
We also need a pound of Cara Pils and Crystal Malt. And these bags are pre-measured at 1 pound, so off they go. And again, 25-pound recipe. Doesn't take a lot of malt to actually change the flavors of the beer. So there we go. All of our malt is measured. Our next step is to grind the malt. Not into flour, but just enough to crack open the shell. So we're going to do that now. Here we are milling the grain. We're going to have to fill up that hopper a couple of times, because we do have 25 pounds to go. So here we are. We've ground or milled all of our grain. You can see it has a nice little consistency. The hulls are cracked. It's got a bit of powder on there. Our next step is to take this grain and mash it in our water that is still heating up. We're back again, and we are preparing our sparge water. What is sparge water, you're probably asking? Were you asking that, Renee?
I was just wondering what his sparging was.
Okay. Well, sparging means to rinse. So here we are getting ready to mash the grains. We've got our pot that's at the right temperature. As you can see, that's what we're hoping for. Our water is being drained into the cooler. We're going to do this for just a little bit. Then when it's empty enough and light enough, we'll just pick it up and dump the whole thing in. And in just a few minutes, we're going to be ready to mash in. See you then. Okay, so now for the part that we've been waiting for. Renee is now going to add grains to our cooler while I mash, while I stir it. And we stir it up nicely. We're basically making a barley tea.
Always be nice with the grain.
Always be nice with the grain. Be good. Je suis bilingue. Oh, look at that. And if only you guys could smell this. It smells so good. Anyway, we're going to stir it up nicely here. Make sure there's no dough balls in there. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Our next step is to basically take the this liquid that's in the cooler, rinse it a couple of times, put it into this pail, and ultimately this is wort, which is going to ultimately turn to beer. So I always put a strainer here just to make sure that no grains get into the wort. That is a nice color. And by the way, this is going to be an IPA when we're done. Look at that color.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. A work of art. Or Tom or whoever else made this. Okay, so we're going to do this 2 times. We're going to do this like that. We're going to return this to the batch. Again, the whole idea here is to let the grain act as a filter. Which is the whole purpose of Vorlaughing. So we're going to move 180 degree water from here to here. This is heavy and hot, so I'm not just going to pick it up and try to dump that in. I'm going to use my pump here because it's a lot safer.
So the Canada Labour Code applies even in your basement.
That's right. And you can't sue yourself, even though you may try. So I'm just going to hook this up to my my pump. Hey.
And?
It's working. There you go.
Hey, hey.
Water in the pipes.
Paul, you are a genius.
A genius. And this is our way of handling hot liquids without burning yourself. Because again, this is hot and it's heavy, and you really don't want to be playing around with hot, heavy liquids. So we're just going to give this a quick stir, very gently, because we don't want to release the tannins that are in the grains. So you want to give it a gentle stir, just to make sure everything gets mixed up nicely. Okay, so now for the fun part, the part we've been waiting for. We've drawn off all of our wort from the grains. The grain bed is spent. Now we want to boil our wort. This has to boil for an hour. It's 140 degrees. We have 13.5 gallons of liquid here, so it's going to take a while. This is actually quite interesting. This is a foam suppression solution. So I use this to prevent boilovers. Let's take a look at the beer. Oh, sorry, it's wort at this point. We have a nice rolling boil. That's what we've been working towards. We also have a range hood to exhaust all the fumes and the moisture. So this recipe calls for a total of 7 ounces of Falconer's Flight hops. So this is already pre-measured 2 ounces. This goes in at the 16-minute mark. So there we go. These hops are going to boil for 60 minutes. Hi everybody, welcome back. So the wort has been boiling for about 45 minutes. It's a good boil. So at this point, you don't want anything that's been unsanitized to touch the wort from the 15-minute mark down to the 0 mark. But the last thing we want to add before our last hop addition is Irish moss. Irish moss is essentially dried seaweed. I put this in the beer to help clarify it. So it's a 10-gallon batch. 1 teaspoon of Irish moss should do the trick. So you put that in there. And there you go. We have 10 minutes left in the boil. So now it's time to add the hops. So this last hop addition is 5 ounces of Falconer's Flight. If you could smell this, you'd be impressed. It smells really good. So there goes 1 set of hops there, and because our glass was too small and this was too small, we had to break it up. There you go. We've got our last hop addition in there. Now we're going to use this time to get ready to cool down our wort. Okay, so here we go. We're ready to sanitize. So what's going to happen when we sanitize is the liquid or the sanitized solution is going to come from this pot down through the pump, sanitizing everything within the pump, out of the pump into the chiller, and then everything within the chiller will be sanitized. It's going to go out of the chiller and back into the pot, and that way we can just let it cycle for a minute or two, and Bob's your uncle. So now we're at the chilling stage. This is the most important stage. You can see we have our hoses hooked up to the laundry basin, so we have water flowing into the heat exchanger and out back to the sink. We also have our boiled wort hooked up to our pump, to the chiller, and ultimately going up to our fermenter. So we're also going to monitor the temperature. So I've installed basically a copper pipe nipple with an aquarium thermometer, so you can actually see the temperature of the liquid as it's going in. We're actually going to be hitting, or trying to shoot for, as cool as possible, hopefully no warmer than 75 degrees. So let's give this a shot. So there's our hot liquid going in. Okay, welcome back. Our wort has been cooled down. It is about 77 degrees. That's perfect. Well, a little cooler would have been better, but 77 is not bad at all. So right now I am sanitizing this wine aerator. And the whole idea here is to aerate the wort so that the yeast will have a much better chance of getting to the sugars before bacteria does. So we're going to basically aerate the wort right now. We're just going to wrap it up for a few minutes. That should be enough. That's nice and foamy and whipped up. And the last stage is to actually pitch the yeast. Yeah, so we're going to pitch the yeast now. And because it's a 10-gallon batch, we're going to do 2 packages of yeast. I always use dry yeast. Wet yeast is much better. However, this is much easier. So we're going to pitch the yeast. 2 packages. There we go. Yeast is in. The last step is to put our airlock on. Make sure that no bacteria gets into the beer while it's fermenting. And there we go. So we're going to let this sit for 1 week. After a week, we're going to put it into a secondary fermenter for, this is an IPA, so for another 3 to 4 weeks. Keg it, and it'll be ready to drink. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.